Welcome to the 9.3 notes. Please make sure that you have a pencil and this worksheet before you get started. And make sure your name goes at the top first. All right, so we're going to be looking at two different things, dot plots and histograms. And dot plots use something called discrete values. What that means is that they are very specific numbers. So they are individual or specific numbers that either have limited options or a small range and are mostly integers. These are things that you could put on a number line. When we use histograms, they're kind of like bar graphs, but they're not exactly the same. What they are going to be is continuous values. So a continuous value is something that kind of can have decimals or fractions. So something like the height of a person. Like, yes, we say that somebody is 6'2", for example, but that actually means that they are like 6.17 feet tall. So these are mainly things that have decimals and fractions or have a large range. Think of these as things that you wouldn't want to draw a number line for, because instead of using a number line, we are going to use what's called intervals. That means that we'll group together like all of the people who are like 6 to 6.5 feet together, that kind of thing. These are things that you wouldn't feel like it would be possible to list a whole number line to include. So if you have numbers that go from like 2 to 200, we can't include that on a number line. So instead we use a histogram. Here's how a dot plot works. The first problem we're going to look at has 20 students who recorded the number of hours they spent watching TV over the weekend. Label the number line appropriately and construct a plot for this data, a dot plot for this data. So really quickly, glance at all the numbers we have on the left. And the smallest number you see should be 4. So that's where we're going to go ahead and start our number line, is 4. And we're going to go to 5 and 6 and 7. And it's pretty important with a dot plot that you actually number each one, because I'm going to basically make a bar graph of x's above each number that shows up. And you can't skip any numbers. Now, I stopped writing numbers at 12 because the biggest number I actually see is 11. So I don't need any numbers bigger than 12. Then what you do is you draw an X for each data value that you see. For example, there's only one 4 on here, so we're going to write an X above the number 4 and then cross it out. Then I'm going to look for the number of 5s, which I don't actually see any, so I'm going to skip to 6s, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4 6s, so I'm going to draw 4 X's above the number 6. Now try and make them in a straight line and try to keep them about the same size. Then I'm going to do 7s. I see 1, 2, 3 7s. So it gets 3 X's. Notice how I'm trying to keep them the same size, so like I can tell that 6 has more X's than 7 does. It doesn't need to be perfect, just try your best. Then watch out, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 8s. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 X's. Cross them all out. Then we get to the 9s and we have 1, 2, 3. Go ahead and cross those out. We get to 10s, 1, 2, 3. And we just have 1 11 left. And there is our dot plot. Now, I know they're called dot plots, but we're used X's. You can use dots instead if you want. I just think it's easier to space them correctly if you have X's instead. Then it says, using the dot plot below, find the approximate center of the data and state what it means. Underneath approximate center, I'm going to go ahead and write the word median, because that's really all we can find with the dot plot at this point. So what happens is we are going to sort of cross out an X on each side the same way we would have done if we listed these numbers in order. But we've actually found a way to avoid listing them in order because 4 is the smallest one. 11 is the biggest one. So I'm sort of crossing both of those out. Then I cross out like a 6 and a 10. I usually start at the bottom of the column like this. And then this 6 has to cross out the next number over, which is a 9. So see how I'm just like working my way towards the middle, crossing out 1 on each side at a time. Boom, boom. Then if I realize it's taking a while, I can go ahead and do this. I can cross out 2 of these with 2 of these. And then this one and this one. And then I can stop because it doesn't matter how many more I have left. They're all the same thing. Our median is going to be 8 because they're all 8s. So what this means is that the approximate average is 8 hours of TV over the weekend. How does that compare to the amount of TV that you watch? Is that more? Is that less? Do you think this is valid data? Always think about these things as we actually solve them because it actually matters. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing but with a histogram. Now, I'm going to fill in the numbers for the intervals, but on your assignment, the intervals will already be filled in for you because they can be kind of tricky to pick. So, in this example, the time it took in seconds for 30 different apps to download. So there are 30 numbers over here. Like this one took 40 seconds to download. This one took 16 seconds to download, and so on. So we need to look carefully, and it kind of looks like one of the higher numbers is like 67. And one of the lowest numbers I'm seeing is, let's see, there's a 16, a 17. It looks like 16 is the lowest. I can't make a number line that goes from 16 to 67 if I can't skip numbers. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to go by tens. Like 10 to 19, 20 to 29. I have to stop on the 9 every time because otherwise, like if I went 10 to 20 and 20 to 30, we wouldn't know where to put the 20 because it'd be in 2 columns. So this is just a way of saying 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. So you have to pick an appropriate interval. If I had gone by 5s, it wouldn't be enough. And if I had decided to go by like 20s, I wouldn't get very many bars and it would be really hard to tell the actual difference. So you want to try to be specific enough that you get good bars on your bar graph, but not too specific that you actually have enough room to do the intervals. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and I'm going to look for any number between 10 and 19. That just means that the tens place is a 1. So I've got 16, 18, 19, 17. That's 4 of them. And instead of drawing an X, since this one has a table, we just shade in 4 of the bars, like that. And that's it. I've done with those 4. Then I do the same thing for the 20s. I see 27, 21, 24, 22, 26, 21, 23, 25. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. 8 numbers, sorry, I missed one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to count 8 squares up and just shade each box in. So see how we're kind of making a bar graph? The difference is that a histogram has intervals at the bottom. So this bar graph, this bar that I just did, represents anything between 20 and 29. On a bar graph, it represents only one thing. Then my 30s, I have 32, 39, 37, another 32, a 33, and a 37. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I shade them on in. Then I do the same thing with 40s. 1, 2, 3, 4. '50s, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 60s, 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Now, the average interval of time it takes to download each app, we're going to have to cross through them again. So think of it kind of like this. I'm going to cross off like 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes here, and 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes here. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 on the left side, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the right side, 2, 3, 4 on the left side, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the right side. And then I can stop crossing them out because I crossed out everything except this interval right here. So my average is going to be 30 to 39 seconds. And we can't narrow it down any closer than that because that is the interval for that section. Now, if you really wanted to find the exact median, you could go back and you could list all the numbers in order and find the middle that way. But essentially what we've done is avoided listing them in order by drawing a bar graph, by drawing X's, or by filling in these boxes. Just a reminder, dot plots use a number line. Histograms use intervals because their numbers are too far apart to use a number line. Okay, now your assignment is on a separate page. It's not on the back side. It's on a separate page. Do me a favor and make sure that you write your name here at the top because there is not a name line. And they're not on the same page this time like they normally are.